We love our books, don't we, folks? We got the best books. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Bigly. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rybrary. I'm your librarian. Hope you're having a good day. I have spent the last month on a couple different vacations. One to Montana, where my husband grew up, and one to New York, where I grew up. As I figured I might on these trips, I purchased and received a bunch of books. And I figured it would be nice to do a little book haul video and show you what I got. First I'll show you the books from my trip to Montana, and I'll mention the stores where I got them, and then after that I'll show you the ones from the trip to New York. Let's get down to it. So the first store we went to on our trip to Montana, it was in Bozeman, and in downtown Bozeman, and that was Country Bookstore, which was a new bookstore, and what I picked up there was Abaddon's Gate, The Expanse #3. If you watch the channel, you'll know I'm been currently enamored with these books and really excited to get down to #3. This is actually my only physical copy that I own of this book, so I'm going to have to get the first two in physical ones because it looks weird as hell sitting on my shelf, just, all by its lonesome. This is a great space opera series about, a interstellar conflict between Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt, set against a looming threat of a substance called the protomolecule. I'm not going to read the back of this or anything because it's going to mention things in the first two books, so I'm just not going to do that. But this is great. Then we went from Country Bookstore, we went down the street to Vargo Books, which is like just a few doors down, in Bozeman, Montana. And that was a used bookstore, and at Vargo Books, I picked up this copy of The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, the classic horror book that inspired the classic horror film about demonic possession of a young girl. Yeah, this is a 40th anniversary edition apparently. And it's kind of weird. There's no I was looking through it to be like, oh, what about this is like a 40th anniversary edition, and it's nothing really. It's just the book, and not even any intro or anything like that. It's fine, whatever. I just thought it was interesting that they published a 40th anniversary edition, and there's nothing particularly special about it. Also, you might notice that it claims to be the most terrifying novel ever written. We will see. We'll certainly see if that's true. Before we left Bozeman, we went to one more used bookstore, and I picked 3 books up there. This store was called Isle of Books, and it was a huge used bookstore, and I had a great selection. I found lots of stuff that I wanted to buy. I managed to restrict myself to just 3 things. The first of those is this amazing looking copy of Slugs by Sean Hudson, an 80s, creature feature horror book about, killer slug attack, something like that. And I cannot tell you how much I love this cover. It's so ridiculous and so genuinely, kind of scary. Slugs oozing out of dark, dank basements, driven by an insatiable thirst for human blood, an overpowering craving for warm flesh. Slugs boring into human bodies, attacking the soft internal organs, eating their victims alive from within. Slugs swarming over the helpless, reducing them to a writhing mass of sinew and bone. Slugs, the most repulsive creatures on Earth, the most terrifying book of the year. Sean Hudson, the master of shock horror. Sean Hudson, is known for being a big name in, shock horror, whatever that means. And I'm really excited to get around to this. Probably going to happen in the near future, probably for spooky season. And that's that. Then also at Isle of Books, picked up Assassin's Quest, Robin Hobb, the 3rd book in the Farseer trilogy and the larger Realm of the Elderlings series. I have actually yet to read the second one, Assassin's Quest, something. Royal Assassin. That's the guy. All these books have those names like Fool and Assassin, and I can't keep them straight in my head. But yeah, really liked the first book, Assassin's Apprentice, and gonna read the second one here soon. But I'm obviously not going to read the back of this, so as to not spoil anything for you, the readers, or for you, the watchers, and not to spoil anything for myself, since I haven't read the previous one yet. So, yeah, this is just really well done, high fantasy, kind of on the slow burn side, which is fine by me. And great characters, great writing. Robin Hobb, check it out. And finally, picked up the third book in Stephen King's Dark Tower series, The Wastelands. I did a review of the first two books in this series, and I liked them both quite a bit for pretty different reasons. And I was pleasantly surprised by how charming this series is, and how original it feels, and how this does really feel like what Stephen King set out to do, which is to make his own vision of like an epic fantasy kind of thing. And it is genre defying. It is mysterious. It's mystical. It's great. It's great stuff. I have heard that this is one of the poorer entries in the series, which, who knows? I don't necessarily ever feel like I line up with anyone's views on books, but yeah, The Wastelands. This copy does not match either the first or second copies in terms of like the edition or whatever. So I have three different like looking versions of these books. So I'll just have to go and get different ones for every single entry in the series, and I'll just have a really goofy looking shelf. So we left Bozeman and went to Helena, Montana, the capital, and went to a bookstore there called Aunt Bonnie's Books in Helena. And there I picked up two books. And the first of those is My Name is Legion by Robert Zelazny. Zelazny is a big name in classic sci-fi, and if you've been watching the channel at all, you'll know that I'm kind of interested in bumping up my, knowledge and experience with classic sci-fi. Classic sci-fi feels very different from what I've read from modern sci-fi, and I'm really interested in seeing how different and where the gold is in that world. And yeah, Zelazny is a big name. And the back says, "He did not exist, or did he? He had destroyed his punch cards and changed his face. There was no credit card, birth record, or passport for him in the International Data Bank. His names were many, any he chose. His occupation was taking mega risks." It says mega risks, one word here. In the service of a vast global detective agency. His interworld assignments were highly lucrative, incalculably vital, and terrifyingly deadly. And more often than not, his life was a living hell. Sounds like it could be cool. We shall certainly see. And if I haven't ever hammered home this point enough, these classic genre fiction covers are so awesome and so much better than a lot of what's out there today. Look at that. That's so good. I don't know who the artist is, and I should start, figuring those things out for these videos. Finally, at Aunt Bonnie's Books, I picked up The Passage by Justin Cronin. Something is coming. Justin Cronin is highly regarded by more than one booktuber that I like, and the confluence of genres and influences that he seems to play with and to exist among seems like my kind of thing. This seems to be maybe post-apocalyptic, maybe horror, maybe sci-fi, a mix of those few things. Amy Harper Belafonte is 6 years old, and her mother thinks she's the most important person in the whole world. She is. Anthony Carter doesn't think he could ever be in a worse place than death row. He's wrong. FBI agent Brad Wolgast thinks something beyond imagination is coming. It is. A tidal wave of darkness ready to engulf the world, and Amy is the only person who can stop it. And then there's a quote from Stephen King. Read this book and the ordinary world disappears. This is number 1 in a series, I believe, so here's hoping it's good, and here's hoping that I become a Justin Cronin fan as a result of reading this. So that's it for Montana. And then I went back to work for a single week, and then went on my New York vacation. I tried to go back. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, and then I lived in Buffalo for several years. So I try to go back and visit once a year. And I bought a bunch of books and received some books on that trip. And so I'll go ahead and tell you about those now. The first store I went to was Golden Bee Books in Liverpool, New York, where I grew up. And pretty cool little shop. And what I picked up there was When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. No One Will Be Spared, apparently. I read Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy earlier this year and thought it was great. It managed to achieve something which is not easy to achieve for me, which is something to be funny and also to be genuinely unsettling and frightening simultaneously, and you know, that's a rare feat for me for something to accomplish, and Nat Cassidy is just getting all kinds of praise these days, and this book has been getting all kinds of praise. There's a bookmark in there I just noticed, but we'll let it hang out. Let's read the back. Nat Cassidy returns with When the Wolf Comes Home, an unabashed, adrenaline-fueled pop horror thriller where the darkest fears can become reality. One night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn that there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined. And that when the wolf finally comes home, no one will be spared. Yeah, so very excited for this guy. Again, spooky season coming up. Probably will be reading a lot more horror. I'm always reading horror, but I'll be reading more horror. The next store I went to was Book's End in Syracuse, New York, which is, you know, the city that Liverpool is a suburb of. And what I picked up there was Isabel by Guy Gavriel Kay. Guy Gavriel Kay is a fairly renowned writer of fantasy that is heavily world history inspired. His books are known for creating a version of a specific time and place in history. Like I know his most famous, or one of his most famous books is The Lions of El Rasan, and that is heavily influenced by medieval Spain. So yeah, I've definitely been wanting to check out GGK, as he is referred to by, you know, other booktubers that I've heard talk about him, that particularly Red Fury Books, Josh, I think his name is, loves this guy, and he seems to have good taste. So I don't really know if I'm going to read this anytime soon, though, and the reason for that is that it's not one of his more well-known books. It just happens to be the one that was at the store, and I want to make sure that I get the best, you know, impression of his work, and with any author that's the case. But I might hold off on this one until I read the Lions of El Rasan, or, you know, one of the more highly regarded ones. I'll go ahead and read the inside of this. Ned Mariner is spending 6 weeks with his father in France, where the celebrated photographer is shooting Saint Sever Cathedral in Aix-en-Provence. Both father and son fear for Ned's mother, a physician with Doctors Without Borders currently assigned to the civil war-torn country of Sudan. This is not the first time she's placed herself in harm's way to help alleviate suffering. And Ned has inherited her courage. He'll need it. While exploring the cathedral, Ned meets Kate Wenger, an American exchange student with a deep knowledge of the area's history. But even Kate is at a loss when she and Ned surprise a scar-faced stranger wearing a leather jacket and carrying a knife deep inside the cathedral. I think you ought to go now, he tells them. You have blundered into a corner of a very old story. In this ancient place where the borders between the living and long dead are thin, Ned and his family are about to be drawn into a haunted tale as mythic figures from conflicts of long ago erupt into the present, changing and claiming lives. So this seems, I guess this doesn't seem like high fantasy, which is what I thought it was. I didn't actually read the. There you go. It goes to show you that I don't actually read the blurbs all that much on stuff. But yeah, it seems like more like a maybe urban fantasy, something like that. But yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. So the next two books I picked up at little free libraries in Liverpool, where my mom lives, and I'm a big fan of little free libraries. That I find lots and lots of great stuff. Exploring those, I take my dog for walks, and I can hit 4 or 5 on a 15-20 minute walk. I can hit 4 or 5 of these little free libraries. And I found a couple good ones in one near my mom's house. And the first one of those is Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews. I see V.C. Andrews at used bookstores in the horror section quite a bit. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what I don't know anything about this. But there's a bunch of books usually in used bookstores in the horror section with her name. And this is apparently her most popular, the one that made her famous. Reading the description, it doesn't seem like super horror. It seems more of like a thriller sort of thing, which is fine. Whatever. I'm not beholden to just reading horror. I have also heard that this is sort of silly and trashy, which is fine by me. I'm definitely down to read some trashy stuff. So there's no blurb on the back of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it from Goodreads. Such wonderful children, such a beautiful mother, such a lovely house, such endless terror. It wasn't that she didn't love her children, she did, but there was a fortune at stake. A fortune that would assure their later happiness if she could keep the children a secret from her dying father. So she and her mother hid her darlings away in an unused attic. Just for a little while. But the brutal days swelled into agonizing years. Now Kathy, Chris, and the twins wait in their cramped and helpless world, stirred by adult dreams, adult desires, served a meager sustenance by an angry, superstitious grandmother who knows that the devil works in dark and devious ways. Sometimes he sends children to do his work. Children who, one by one, must be destroyed. Way upstairs, there are 4 secrets hidden. Blonde, beautiful, innocent, struggling to stay alive. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. Like, in a good way. But that actually got me kind of stoked for this. I think I might read that in the near future. But yeah, Flowers in the Attic, V.C. Andrews. And the other one I got from the little free library is this copy of The Inferno by Dante. Kind of folded there, but oh well. Cool painting on the cover. You can't really tell too much, I don't think, but yeah, I mean, this is the work of epic poetry by Dante Alighieri, the first part of the Divine Comedy. And this, I'll just read the back because it probably can explain it better than I can. With the Inferno, the first part of his epic, The Divine Comedy, Dante unleashed one of the most graphic visions of hell known to literature. In this famous work, Dante is led by poet Virgil down into the 9 circles of hell, where they travel through nightmare landscapes of fetid cesspools, viper pits, frozen lakes, and boiling rivers of blood, and witness sinners being beaten, burned, eaten, and torn to pieces by demons. Along the way, Dante meets the most fascinating characters known to the classical and medieval world, the silver-tongued Ulysses, lustful Francesca de Rimini, the heretical Farinata degli Uberti, and scores of other intriguing and notorious figures. This edition of the Inferno revives the famous Henry Wadsworth Longfellow translation, which first introduced Dante's literary genius to a broad American audience. Lyrically graceful and brimming with startlingly vivid images, Dante's Inferno is a perpetually engrossing classic that ranks with the greatest works of Homer and Shakespeare. This looks really cool. I know for a fact that Inferno is not this long, so I'm guessing there's lots of, analyses and ancillary texts and stuff like that in here, which is cool. I would, with something like this, I would definitely like to read that kind of stuff since it's so old and, contextual stuff could only help me understand it better because I'm not that smart. I have one more book that I got in Syracuse, but I'm going to save that till last. After I was in Syracuse, I then went to Buffalo for a few days and picked up a few more books there. The first bookstore that I stopped at in Buffalo is West Side Stories, which is a cool used bookstore, and I picked up I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is I get thriller / horror book. I think it's supposed to be sort of ambiguous. Again, there's no blurb on the back of this, so I'll go ahead and find it on Goodreads. Now a Netflix original movie, this deeply scary and intensely unnerving novel follows a couple in the midst of a twisted unraveling of the darkest unease. You will be scared, but you don't know why. I'm thinking of ending things. Once this thought arrives, it stays. It sticks. It's always there. Always. Jake once said, sometimes a thought is closer to truth, to reality, than an action. You can say anything, you can do anything, but you can't fake a thought. And here's what I'm thinking. I don't want to be here. In this smart and intense literary suspense novel, Ian Reid explores the depths of the human psyche, questioning consciousness, free will, the value of relationships, fear, and the limitations of solitude. Tense, gripping, and atmospheric, I'm Thinking of Ending Things pulls you in from the very first page and never lets you go. As it said a couple times there, this is like known as sort of a literary work, which is, can be good or bad for me. I just read a fairly literary book that, I have very mixed feelings on, Station 11. I'll probably talk about that at some point on the channel. But yeah, in general, literary stuff is very hit or miss for me. So here's hoping this is awesome. I then went across the street, literally, to another used bookstore, Rust Belt Books, which is kind of a Buffalo institution. I used to go there when I lived there at a different location, and I picked up this there. I need to figure out this lighting situation because this is not great for this cover, but Different Seasons by Stephen King. This very yellow cover. This is King's collection of 4 novellas that roughly correspond with the seasons, I think. Among other stories, this contains The Body, the story that Stand By Me is based on, which is one of my favorite movies. So looking forward to that. And also Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, which is the basis for the Shawshank Redemption, which I have not seen. So maybe I'll actually be able to get to the point in my life where I see the Shawshank Redemption after having read the source material. Though people have said that the source material is kind of weaker than the movie, which seems reasonable seeing as it's considered one of the best movies ever made. So yeah, love Stephen King, obviously. God, that cover thing sucks. Never again with the yellow covers. Here, an unjustly imprisoned convict seeks a strange and startling revenge. A teenager becomes both the puppet and the puppet master of evil. 4 rambunctious young boys plunge through the facade of a small town and come face to face with life, death, and intimations of their own mortality. A disgraced woman is determined to triumph over death. These are your guides to the ultimate in fascination as Stephen King shows the horror that lurks within us all. And I imagine they said it, they phrased it that way because, Stephen King obviously at one point was known primarily as a horror author. He still is, mainly a horror author, but we now know that he's capable of incredible works of other genres, of all kinds of genres. And this definitely, the body is not a horror story. It's a coming of age thing. So anyway, enough about this book because I don't want to hold it up anymore because it looks bad on this screen. Only got a few more. So these next two, I received. A friend of a friend was giving away a bunch of old paperbacks, and I took a couple of them. And these are old, like 50s, 60s, 70s. And the first of those is this book called The House Next Door by Lionel White. Lionel White, I guess, was a name of some renown with regards to mid-century noir mystery type stuff. I believe Quentin Tarantino actually listed him as among other authors that inspired Reservoir Dogs. But as with a lot of older writers, it's been sort of lost to time. I'll go ahead and read the back for this. Next Door to Death. Len Nielsen stumbled tipsily into the wrong house among the look-alike homes of Fairlawn Acres one night, fell into bed in the dark, and woke beside a stranger's corpse. Police jeered when he couldn't find the house by daylight, but when a babysitter was brutally slain outside Len's own door, he was jailed, and only his wife was left to search the panic-stricken suburb for the real murderer in this harrowing thriller. So yeah, maybe I'll get to that soon. It's very short, only like 150 pages. And the other book that I got from that, friend of a friend was The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham. I didn't realize when I grabbed this. With this and the other one, I just, I liked the covers, so I grabbed them. But when I picked this up, I did not realize that this John Wyndham is who wrote Day of the Triffids, which is a classic sci-fi book that is certainly on my TBR. And this is, one of his other well-known books, apparently. And I just loved that cover. Look at that crazy painting. That's so cool. In the sleepy English village of Midwich, a mysterious silver object appears and all the inhabitants fall unconscious. A day later, the object is gone and everyone awakes unharmed, except that all the women in the village are discovered to be pregnant. That's all the description there's no description on this. I was reading this from Goodreads, but that's all the description that there is in Goodreads. Which is kind of funny. Yeah. Classic sci-fi, let's do it. And finally, I wanted to save this for last, because it's really awesome. My dad, who sells rare books, got me this gorgeous copy of The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien and Christopher Tolkien. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just kind of show you all that stuff because it's real pretty. It's got like gold edges and some stuff. The Silmarillion, a brief history of the book, or a brief account of the book and its making by Christopher Tolkien. Yeah, this looks awesome, and thank you, Dad, for this. The Silmarillion is, of course, the sort of the lore book that was published after J.R.R. Tolkien's death. It was compiled by his son, Christopher Tolkien. That kind of lays out a vague history of the history of Middle Earth and the other continents in the world prior to the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I actually have another copy of it, which is good because I'm not going to actually read this. It's too nice. And I have heard this is kind of dry. It's kind of a joke among, the fandom that it's sort of difficult to get through. But I do look forward to reading it someday. Tolkien did something really great in establishing, as part of the tradition of fantasy, that, creating a very well fleshed out world how much that can give readers to dig into and to obsess over. um, and that's a dearly beloved part of fantasy fiction in the years since. All right, that's all the books that I got in my two vacations. I don't know when I'm gonna read any of these because I have so many already. You can see back there, I got the shelf going now. Gonna try changing up the configuration with these videos here in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching again. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you have not. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, let me know any cool books you've gotten recently in the comments, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you for watching. Thank you for visiting the Rybrary, and you may now talk.